Alright, so for my Mesmer build, I go with mainly Divinity runes for the fact that everything is the Mesmer itself is a very squishy class. It's more about avoidance, but having a little bit of innate tankiness and having a little bit of more health is really helpful. Plus, the crit damage never hurts. So I go with the Divinity, and I go with the Berserker's Drill for the higher precision. As you can see, I have 52% chance of crit, 68 crit damage, which means I hit really, really hard for a Mesmer. I also have decent armor, I have a decent toughness, I have okay power when I'm in sword gun build. When I'm in great sword, I have a little bit more power. As you can see here, here's my sword and pistol build. As you can see, it's a little bit less power, but at the same time, I dish out more damage in a shorter amount of time with it. The greatsword build is basically a control aspect. So here for my traits, I go with 20 in domination, 30 in dueling, 10 in chaos, and 10 in inspiration. For the first rune, I take empowered illusions, just because I want my illusions to do a little bit more damage, and it counts towards your phantasms. Greatsword training, I want my skills to recharge faster, and having 50 extra power does kind of help. For my dueling, I go with Desperate Decoy, Cloak, in those situations that you need to get out of there, it's very handy. Blade training, extra crit, never hurts, reduces swords CDs, perfect for when you're using illusionary, blurred frenzy, sorry. Duelist discipline, I want my pistol attack range to be farther back and to be able to stun from farther away when I'm using my magic bullet. But mainly for the Phantasmal Duelist, since most of your Phantasms have a fairly long cast time, the ability to cast them as you're going farther, as you're closing in on someone, is a lot better than being able to go from, say, close range combat, having to run in, cast time, and you're already in their cast range. So being able to get that off, because it's such a squishy phantasm here, is key. So for Chaos, I go with Illusionary Defense, because you're usually going to have at least 3 illusions up at any given time. So I want my Illusionary Defense to give me that 9% reduced damage. It helps. And then for Inspiration, I go with Compounding Celerity, which means that, I move faster. It's not that much of a bonus, it is noticeable, but it's just for positioning. When you're in a fight, you want to be able to move from target A to B pretty quickly. That gives you the ability to do it, but at the same time, not sacrifice much to get it. You could go with a different build to get a bunch of swiftness, but I actually don't think that swiftness for Mesmer is particularly key, especially if you have someone that can give group-wide buffs anyway. For my skills, I'm going with my mirror images. That's just another stun break. Gives me 2 clones, gives me a chance to get out of a situation if I need to. Especially if you combine your mirror images with your decoy. It sends 3 out, you're invisible for a short period of time. It allows you to get out of a situation, they see 3 of you, so they think 1 is real. It allows you to get out of a situation, get behind something, heal up, or, just fall back a little bit to be able to get out your other illusions. Phantasmal Defender. Fairly squishy phantasm, but at the same time it's still a damage soak. So it helps your survivability, especially in larger fights. I mean, it dies fairly quick, especially when the rotation and build that I do, it explodes kind of quick because I go through illusions of phantasms like they're just not even there. So at the same time, while he is up, he definitely saves my butt more than he hurts. He does have a cast time, you have to remember that, but if you pop him slight in the middle of right before you engage, or just anytime you get a chance, you want this guy up. My elite skill, Massive Visibility, perfect. Gives 5 seconds to stealth to your entire team in a radius. It's a huge radius. and it's perfect for, if you needed to get away, you have an extra stealth. But at the same time, if you're in a major team fight, you got a couple of people down, you need to get them up fast, you have 5 seconds to do it, you can pop that, get down on the ground, because they can't spike them, they can't really attack them during this time period.
So can I do random games while I'm waiting for tournaments?
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
when someone's down, you can just take this, pop it, get in there, res them, before the enemy can spike them or get them out, take them out of that team fight. That it just helps a lot in team fight viability. And my weapon skills, I go with the sword, mainly for Blurred Frenzy. Distortion is amazing. When I do pop my skills, when I do pop my illusions, I'm going to be popping Distortion, just because Distortion is amazing. It's basically a get out of jail free card for some damage, especially if 3 clones. That's 3 seconds of damage you're not going to take. It's about the same time, a little bit longer than Blurred Frenzy, and everybody that plays, you want Distortion, because Blurred Frenzy will keep you alive. That's why I tend to try to engage mainly with my Greatsword, so I can throw out my Berserker, which has a 1200 range also. I'll throw that out, I'll throw out my Mirror Blade, just for the buff, the vulnerability debuff. And when I need to, I save this for major team fights. I need to spread them out. I need to be able to get to my teammates that if they're down, they just need a breather for just a second. Illusionary Wave does just what you want it to do. Spatial Surge, okay, but not the greatest. If you can get good at your mind stabs, not a bad skill, but it has a decently long cooldown, has a very, very long cast animation. You basically can't move until the actual illusionary blade comes out of the ground and comes back down. So it's not that great of a skill, but if you do it as you're going into a team fight, it's not bad. Like I said, Blurred Frenzy is like your main thing. And your illusionary leap, it takes some timing to get down, but once you get down your illusionary leap, you can go from illusionary leap to swap and into your Blurred Frenzy pretty quickly, free damage, move around, it creates space between whoever's chasing you or someone around you to your target. So it overall helps. Your Duelist and your Blurred Frenzy are where most of your damage is going to come from. Berserker does massive amounts of damage, so you want that out as well, and you want to throw out your Mirror Blade as much as possible as well. Magic Bullet is basically a good stun. I mean, it stuns the first, blinds the second, and dazes the third. Or blinds the first, dazes the second, and stuns the third. It works quite well, and it will save you. It has a good short cooldown when you have the talents in that I have. At the same time, in a major team fight, sure you can spam it, but I prefer to keep my Magic Bullet and my Illusionary Wave for creating spaces and being able to get up teammates or stop someone from being spiked, whatnot. Okay, so as far as my my play style, when I go to take a point, I want to be on the point, defending mainly. Sometimes it's good to have to, but I'm actually more, in my setup, I roam quite a bit between my points in tournament PvP. In 8v8 PvP, I don't even use my Mesmer, like this build, mainly because it's just a Zerg and you're squishy. Sure, you'll be able to pop off 1 or 2 people, but at the same time, you don't. Overall, I think there is better builds for 8v8, but this one's just mainly tailored towards 5v5. In 5v5, you want to be able to hold a point. Your 1v1 capability is astounding, and for the most part, if you get good at your cooldown rotations, your management of your cooldowns, and knowing when to pop your distortions, to pop your clones for distortion, it's a key thing between life and death. You can pretty much hold a point 1v2 until one of your other people come to help you, but try not to do prolonged engages of 2v2 or 1v1, 1v2, because you never know what's going to happen. If you get immobilized, you're screwed, and that's the honest truth. You will die very quickly. That's why you have so many clones, illusions, decoys, invisibilities. You want to be able to get out of a situation. If you get immobilized, you want to pop your decoy as soon as possible. You won't take that much damage. I mean, it'll still hurt, but you usually want to, like, if you get stuck in a major immobilization chain, so say like 6 seconds or an assassin pops on you, pop your decoy. As soon as the decoy pops, hit your shatter, your distortion shatter, and go into mass invisibility. That gives you room to breathe, gets you out of there, be able to heal back up using your Ether Feast. Usually in that kind of situation, I'll pop my mirror images and then pop my Ether Feast, just because it's a little bit extra health. And then I'll go back into the fight. I'll start it off with probably a magic bullet, and then I'll go into my Phantasm Duelist rotation, get out my Berserker, try to keep him away, and go back to my Illusionary Leap to Blurred Frenzy combo. You'll usually win. If you have to go against 2 warriors or a warrior and a guardian, it's best just to pull back from point. Do not give them your death. Wait for some sort of reinforcement to come help you. The heavies, you can take on one or the other, but have them 2 at a time. Unless they're fairly bad, you're not going to beat them. It's just too much sustain and too much damage for you to be able to. So yeah, that's pretty much my Mesmer build. I'll work on my Necro one. I'll try to post something up a little bit later, but for now, this is a good baseline for everybody. There are better builds. I will be working on more. I'll probably update a couple more Mesmer builds as I go along, but this is my main primary 5v5 build. See ya.